be personalized. It also has more pages than any other book. This year we broke from tradition and used an original artwork by Shalom Aslander for the cover. Putting this yearbook together could have been hell for me, but thanks to one person, my life was made much easier. This person had the patience to listen to me, the knowledge to help me, and the connections with the administration. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you, everyone, for helping make this yearbook so much fun to work on. Every year, the yearbook is dedicated to someone who has an impact on the school and the students. This year, we chose Rabbi Weinbach. Here's Rabbi Finkelstein to say a few words about Rabbi Weinbach.
Any of you guys got it done? Is the coin operator microphone? Okay.
Turn around.
Don't forget, he's coming down.
Watch him come down. Watch him coming down the hall. Get him.
Guys, you got another.
Thank you very much. Throughout the year. Here, I began 9th grade. For those of you who might be interested, the one or two, in 1959, and from that point to this very day, and for what I hope will be many years to come, Rabbi Weinbach does, and God willing will continue to play a very integral role in my life. So I'm not going to say farewell to Rabbi Weinbach. Instead, what I'd like to do is just leave you with one thought about Rabbi Weinbach that I think you should try to emulate, as I hope that I will be more successful in the future in emulating than I've been in the past. Just one note. Many years ago, and the synagogue rabbis here will forgive me, forgive him, I once asked Rabbi Weinbach why he enjoys davening in a shtibel rather than davening in a big shul. One of the things that he told me is because he gets very impatient with long speeches. And therefore, in keeping with that, so as not to make Rabbi Weinbach impatient, mine will be very short. You of course know that this coming Shabbat, we begin to read Sefer Bamidbar. And you also know that our Chazal in the Pasuk Umi Midbar Nachaliel speak about the idea of Midbar as not just a place, but rather a concept that every Jew should strive for. By the way, did I misquote the pasuk? It's Umi Midbar Matana, right? Thank you. Umi Matana Nachal. Matana, of course, is the Torah. And in order to be able to acquire Torah, a person has to make himself into a Midbar. Of course, what does that mean? Say Chazal that just as a Midbar does not really possess any specific character to it, but rather one midbar looks like another, one desert is like another desert. So too, ein haTorah miskayemes elo b'mi shememis atzmo aleha. Torah can only be fulfilled by someone who puts himself in second place and Torah in first place, who doesn't view himself as being the center of the circle of his life, but rather who views what he does as being more important than his own personal self. I think that if there is one characteristic about Rabbi Weinbach that more than any other has never ceased to impress me, is that he absolutely abhors being in the center of attention. Rabbi Weinbach prefers to stand on the side to make sure that everything works and to allow everyone else to bask in the glory, to get the spotlight, to be the center of attention. And it isn't because of the fact that he doesn't have a lot to be proud of. It's because of the fact that he recognizes and understands and communicates the idea that the person is less important than what the person does, and that ultimately it isn't Rabbi Weinbach who is looking for honor, but it's rather the yeshiva that he has worked so hard to nurture, to help grow, that it's the Talmidim who are here, who are getting, hopefully, a good education and a good life experience. It's those people, it's the members of the faculty who work hard day in, day out, often going unrecognized for both their efforts and accomplishments. It is all of those that deserve to be in the center of attention. And if you will run your lives, you will set the foundation for your lives in that manner, that you will be less concerned about your own honor and your own glory, and rather instead place the first priority as to what are you doing and what are you accomplishing, and what is the goal that you are trying to reach, and why are you trying to reach it. That if you keep that in mind, then you will have allowed Rabbi Weinbach to have taught you a very important lesson. Again, as I said at the outset, I can never bid farewell to Rabbi Weinbach. And I hope that the connection between Rabbi Weinbach and me and my family, between Rabbi Weinbach and each and every one of us and our yeshiva, will continue to remain very strong for many years to come. Amen. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce a man whose name is synonymous with the word senior. He's been a senior rabbi for at least 10 years. And to send us off with some words of wisdom, here's Rabbi Chait.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Rabbi. Yes. Yes. No, we're getting filmed. Back up. Just make sure you have to drag it 100 feet Yeah, you're going to get up there and Sammy, can I get there? Get up there and go slide. Afterwards. Remember you just said? You know we were doing the place today after this.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy. There was a nice long walk from the head table to the lectern. By that time I could get my thoughts together and try to express some ideas. Rabbi Weinbach, Rabbi Finkelstein, Choshev Rabbeim, members of the faculty, and I mean you, Mrs. Levitt, and this wonderful group of seniors. I'd like to say from the very outset that I am very much impressed with this breakfast. Not so much because of the excellent food, which I wouldn't mind having every day, but I am impressed with the idea that is behind this breakfast. First of all, I'm happy to see that the seniors were able to sponsor such a breakfast to add a little class to the senior image. I believe this is the first breakfast ever sponsored by the seniors, and Yasher Koach to you.
Oh, Jay.
Secondly, I would like to say that there's a very interesting concept which is important to note with regard to this breakfast. It says that a senior is not only one who has 4 years of high school learning behind him and his accomplishments. But it means a senior is someone who has attained a certain growth of maturity, development, and understanding, and is now ready for a new stage in life. And I think it's important for the boys here and everyone in the high school to be aware of that. You know, as a senior Rebbe, as you heard, for 10 years I've been privileged to meet many very fine boys in our yeshiva. And you know, when you look back and you reflect upon their accomplishments, you remember some of their outstanding features, some of the things that you'll never forget. For example, beside their love for learning, they love another period which we call chavrusa. They do so well in that period, I cannot tell you. That's the time when the Rebbe can walk around and find out how the Mets are doing, whether it paid for George to pay all that money for Clark, how the Yanks are doing, and things are very important. I can tell you that I have had seniors who know the sport so well that if I was that familiar in the Talmud, I think I'd be one of the big Rosh Yeshivas. It's incredible. The averages, the names of the different batters, the different pitchers and all the teams, besides which these gentlemen are very great sportsmen. We have a terrific hockey team, and sometimes during a year I have to duck. And you know, these fellas are terrific when it comes to sports and other things which we hope they will attain. For example, in my class, I can tell you that we have an outstanding person who I hope one day will be a congressman. We also have...
Zwiggy.
But don't let that stop you. We also have someone who is a sports enthusiast, and one day he's going to be a great racer somewhere on the track and win a race. This time he missed a little bit, but you know, you need experience to go on. And I hope, Be'ezer Hashem, that these gentlemen here today will someday bring us beautiful records. It'll make us very happy. And I'd like to tell you this little thought, and I hope the seniors remember this. In every stage in life, there are some indelible impressions that remain with us. And I can tell you that high school is one of those areas, especially when you're a senior. The camaraderie, the friendliness, and the personal interest that goes on in the yeshiva is superb. For example, you'll never see this in college, where you'll be teaching a class and suddenly all the heads will turn towards the little window together. And someone will peer in and pull his head out, and then some boy will get up holding his stomach and will walk out of the classroom. And I think this fellow deserves an Oscar. And you know, in years to come, you fellas should get together. There is nothing like a class reunion from your high school graduation period. When you go through college, you come back with different ideas. The first question is how much money are you making? And these are the important, you know, points of conversation. But in high school, there's a different kind of a freedom, a greatness, a warmth that remains with you forever. I would like to say that I think there are two basic factors that are important both to the seniors and to the Rebbeim. I'd like to illustrate it, one through a story and one through a pasuk. The story is told of a rabbi who was walking along a dusty trail in the desert with two of his students, and they chanced upon a carcass, and the odor was horrible. One of the students said to the Rebbe, "Please, Rebbe, let's get away from here. I can't take the offensive odor." The other one stopped with great interest. He bent over and he said, "Look, Rebbe, how white and pearly its teeth are." The ability, the Rebbe said, to see the goodness in a carcass is a sign that you're going to be a person who will be outstanding and a good friend to everyone. And I'm sure this will remain with you. To the Rebbeim, I can say that we have felt, as the Chachomim have told us when they translated, you should love God with all your heart and so forth. Then it says immediately after that, "V'shinantem levanecha," and you should teach it to your children. Well, they say, "V'shinantem levanecha," teach it to your children means "Eile talmidecha," these are your students. We will look as we have in the past at our students as we would at our own children. We'll have successful students, and you'll remember us for many years to come. I'd like to close with the words Chazak, Chazak, V'nis Chazek, as we heard yesterday. And Hashem Yisborach should bless you with good health, long life, and great success in the future.
Oh, late. Hey, boy. Who's answering the phone? Get back into my phone. Who's answering the phone?
2 weeks ago, we found out that Rabbi Wilson is retiring. And we would like to take this opportunity to thank him for his guidance and for his help in finding a college. Right.
Rabbi Black. No final. Sammy, I'll do it. You do it.
We screw it up, okay?
As hard as it is to bid farewell to somebody who's been such an integral part of our school for such a long time, when I was asked by the students to speak at this time, I relished the opportunity. It's very hard to sum up a person's contribution to a school, particularly a person like Rabbi Wolfson, who has done so much for so many people. In thinking about Rabbi Wolfson, thinking of a man who I see as a teacher par excellence, as somebody who has deep concern for every one of the students that he has, a person who tried so hard, worked so hard in terms of college guidance to give people direction, to help them get into the schools that they wanted to get into,
Not me.
who basically took a lot, because there was always room for criticism. It's always somebody else's fault, never my own. Yet, despite all of that, he continued to do what had to be done for the benefit of the Talmidei HaYeshiva.
What did you just say, Adam? Not you, Adam?
Rabbi Wilson's dedication and concern remind me very much of what we see in the Torah with Moshe Rabbeinu, in terms of his being the Rabbeinu, our teacher, a teacher who simply did not see as his responsibility to impart knowledge, but as we see from the situation of the Chet HaEgel, who was deeply concerned for the welfare of the people and did everything that he could, including going to bat, so to say, with the Ribono Shel Olam, in order to save the people. Time and again he's tried by the people, and time and again he comes back once again to lead them and to teach them throughout 40 years in the wilderness. There was another quality that Moshe Rabbeinu had that he is very famous for, and that is anivus. And here too, Rabbi Wolfson shares that characteristic. A man who never looked for any of the accolades, never looked for any of the awards, simply did the job that was there to be done. Because he understood the responsibility of being a Rebbe and a teacher in a yeshiva, and a guidance counselor in a yeshiva. It's a calling. It's a responsibility. It's not something that we can shirk off, and it's not something that we can turn aside, and it's not something that we can say, well, there are tremendous rewards financially or whatever that one will get for doing this. To the contrary, you end up being one of the unsung heroes. And it's fitting that at this time, we honor Rabbi Wolfson. We recognize the service that he has given not only to MTA, but the service that he's given for Yeshiva University for all of these years. The fact that he was in the Brooklyn School and held probably every imaginable position there. Again, whatever the school needed, whatever the yeshiva needed, you found Rabbi Wolfson doing it. The fact that he had concern for his students and his Talmidim. I was told that in Brooklyn for many years, he ran a shiur once a week for the students who had graduated from the yeshiva. The concern that we always articulate, that every year I articulate to my students, the concern that we view you not as somebody who's been here for 4 years and goodbye, but we view you as part of a family, and we're concerned about you, and we want to hear about you, and please come back. Well, Rabbi Wolfson just didn't say those words and wait for the students to respond. To the contrary, he did things to show his concern and care for them beyond the 4 walls of the yeshiva. And then, of course, all the work he's done here, the work that every one of you is aware of, the concern that he has shown for every one of you. Rabbi Wolfson is a teacher's teacher. He is somebody in terms of characteristic, both as a teacher and a human being, for every one of you to learn from and emulate. And I hope that that lesson will be the one that will come through to you. Rabbi Wolfson, I wish you all the best on behalf of the Talmidei HaYeshiva in terms of what you will be doing from here on in. I am certain that your concern and your work for the community will continue, and we wish you all the best. Thank you.
Oh, you're moving the...
Rabbi Weinbach, Rabbi Finkelstein, who had to leave, Rebbeim, members of the faculty, the secretaries, and dear seniors.
Yeah.
Must tell you, in all sincerity, this is an overwhelming experience for me. I didn't even realize that what was going to take place, and I'm deeply moved. I must just share one thought or two with you this morning. A few weeks ago, I went to Rabbi Finkelstein and said, I'm thinking perhaps of retiring. The reaction of Rabbi Finkelstein was shocking. Why? Why do you want to retire, Rabbi Wolfson? And I gave him a couple of reasons, and I must tell you it's a very, very, very difficult decision to make, because I have loved every day of my teaching experience, and I'm really thankful to God that I was mazeldig to choose chinuch as my goal in life. To Rabbi Block, I want to thank you very, very much for the kind words you said. And I'd like to just say, in really very briefly, what has been my goal and why I have loved chinuch all these years. Rabbi Chait mentioned that in the Kriyat Shema we say, V'shinantom l'vonecha. You shall teach your children. And our Chazal say, V'shinantom l'vonecha elu tamidecha. These are your students. And I think what the Chazal are saying is that if a Rebbe, a teacher, hopes to succeed with students, then he must treat his students as if he were treating his own children. And this, I hope, has been my goal, my thoughts that every student that I had the pleasure of teaching or here in MTA to guide, I treated that student as I would my own child. And to you seniors, I want to wish you all the mazel and tzlocha in the world. I'm sure as you mature and grow up, you will be fine citizens of the community in which you will choose to live. And again, I want to thank all of you for this great honor. And, again, we hope and pray that everyone will have hatzlocha and nachas.
Oh, what the heck was that? Oh, Gary, what are you doing? Stop! You're pushing the whole thing. You can't stand up like that.
Move the camera somewhere else.
No, you moved you somewhere else.
Thank you, Rabbi Wilson. And thank you for those kind words about Rabbi Wilson, Rabbi Block. Now we'll hear from another assistant principal, Jeffrey Rochler.
Assistant principal.
Mischief.
Rebbeim, faculty members, teachers, and fellow classmates. I would like to take a few minutes out of our celebration today to say farewell to a rabbi whom we all know. This rabbi, after 28 years of dedicated service to Yeshiva University and 6 years of service as a guidance counselor in MTA, is leaving at the end of this school year. While some of us have known Rabbi Wolfson in the capacity of a social studies teacher, most of us have had, in this past year, the fortune of taking advantage of Rabbi Wolfson's uncanny ability as a college guidance counselor to help us select the appropriate college and career. In addition, Rabbi Wolfson has been a close friend and a confidant, helping us with various problems. I remember many times when I was confused, bewildered, and was just totally out of it because I had received 15 different application forms. For example, there were the TAP forms, the REAP, the EAP, the CREEP, and the LEAP forms. There were pink ones, red ones, blue ones, and even black ones. Not knowing what to do, I took precious time out of Shir and went to room 405, Rabbi Wolfson's office, a matchbox of an office which was too small for a man of his stature. Rabbi Wolfson took me over to his bookcase full of college guides and deftly flipped through a few catalogs. Together, we came up with the solution to my problem. Lastly, I would like to mention Rabbi Wolfson's great devotion to his school and to his students. As a rabbi, he emphasized that we must continue our Yiddishkeit and our Torah learning after we have left MTA. The good rabbi, as all of us affectionately call him, never ceases to emphasize the importance of finding a college, if not YU, that at least have a Jewish population and has some extra programs set up for learning Torah. Rabbi Wolfson has an extreme love for his students and has tried many times to mold us into a group of proper young men. To paraphrase Rabbi Wolfson, he considers his greatest accomplishment the fact that for so many years he has been able to find, with much success, yeshivas and colleges for the graduating seniors of the Moshe Stern Talmudical Academy. Here's a fond memory of Rabbi Wolfson's class. I remember many times when Rabbi Wolfson became perturbed because one or more of his students occasionally became uninterested in class. There were times that a student would decide to prepare for a different subject during his class, and he would abruptly stop everything to admonish the student. Not because the student wasn't paying attention to the lesson that Rabbi Wolfson had prepared, but because the student had the chutzpah to do something so rude that even a student in public school wouldn't even think of doing. In conclusion, I would just like to thank Rabbi Wolfson on behalf of everyone here for his 28 years of dedicated service to the Yeshiva University family, and wish him much success and happiness on his retirement.
Mazel tov. Jeff,
Can I speak? Gee, let me
Thanks, Jeff. We really kid ourselves that the editors are the ones that get the yearbook out. But nothing in the school gets done without passing Mrs. Levin and Mrs. Abramowitz first. And we'd like to give them a special thanks, and here to do that is one of their favorite people, Sammy Hirschkowitz.
You know, everyone thinks that it's the editors of the yearbook that get everything done. Seriously, I'm very honored to have the opportunity to thank two of the most important members of our administration.
Firstly, there's Mrs. Abramowitz, who slaves over her desk every single day. Doing what? No idea. No, actually, seriously, one thing she does do, every day, Mrs. Abramowitz types the attendance sheet. This is something that must be done. If not for Mrs. Abramowitz, we would all be absent. She's also the person in charge of security in the office. Don't try to loiter. Don't try to step on the chairs. Don't you dare step in Mrs. Litwin's private office, the little closet with all the stationery on the side and the paper clips. And then, oh, speaking of Mrs. Litwin, we owe her a great thanks too. If not for Mrs. Litwin, Arthur, Mr. Palayo would have no place to sit in the office. He has no desk. Seriously, we really owe a great thanks to both these women for all their help with the yearbook, for the late notes, elevator passes, paper clips, envelopes, typing, and all the work they've done for us over the past 4 years. On behalf of the entire senior class, I'd like to thank you, Mrs. Lewin and Mrs. Abramowitz, for all your help and all your work. Thanks a lot.
Jay, stand up.
Thanks. We all remember Ilan Adler from our freshman year as the funny man in the dorm. But since he's become a rabbi, he's gotten a little more serious. And here with only a few serious words is Rabbi Ilan Adler.
Sammy, that was great. Where is he?
Okay, I guess he
I got him.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning. It is nice to be back. It's interesting you mention that because the truth of the matter is that office, I remember 2 years ago and for the last 8 years of my life, like Fort Knox. Why is that? I don't remember. Every time, you're right, every time you wanted to go into that closet, you wanted a lane slip. Ah! Get out of there! But it's nice. And it was good to be there. It was a pleasure for me to be head of the dorm for 5 years, which was I remember meeting with, is the doctor still here? Dr. Yeah. The doctor I remember meeting with him a few years ago, and he assured me that in his 25 years of being here as doctor, he's only lost 4 kids. That's nice to know. Actually, he lost 3. He said one of them was so upset by the news that he was told, ran across the street and was hit. This is a wonderful guy to have as a campus doctor. Anyway, we're moving nowhere, and I'd like to get there really quickly. I'm not really sure why in the world I keep on getting asked back to be part of a tribute for Rabbi Weinbach. In 8 years, I don't think we've agreed on 2 things, have we? You remember the times every time we wanted to use the gym for the dorm? And then you don't remember. Let me move on to the next one. Every time we wanted to use the gym for the dormitory, and by the way, Mrs. Abramowitz, it was between you and Mrs. Feiner. You won by 3 votes, so congratulations. Remember the time with the dorms? We wanted to use the gym, and they would never let us after hours, between hours, during hours. You don't remember that? That was fond memories in my life. Does anybody in the dorm remember that? Yeah, you remember. You were never in the dorm. Thank you very much. A good suit. There's something that I don't really want to mention much of anything, except just to tell you a story about something in Disney World. In my synagogue in Stamford, Connecticut, I took my 7th graders, about 7 of them, to Disney World about 3 weeks ago. It was part of a class trip, and the first 2 days that we were there, we went to Disney World, we went to Epcot Center, it was very nice. The 3rd day we went to a place called Wet and Wild. I don't know if any of you have ever been there. Oh, yes. Yes, Wet and Wild. Rabbi Cohen would be sitting here saying, why are you talking about Wet and Wild? I know. But that's the way it is. We went on a Wednesday, and in the morning we got there those of you that have ever been there remember a ride called Lazy River?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes. It's a certain ride that goes for about a quarter of a mile track.
It's like a river.
And you ride on a tube which you rent for $5. You put down 4, you get one back. I don't remember what the story is. It costs $35 a tube. So the motivation to bring back the tube is very, very high. You ride around a quarter of a mile for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and that's what we're doing, we're riding. It's very exciting. For those of you that have never been to Wet n Wild, all the way down. All the way down to the right. Here come the arrows. Now do you remember the thing with the gym? Remember they used to tell us at 11 o'clock, nobody plays inside the ballpark. Remember that? I don't remember that either. Wet n Wild is a lovely place with tubes. You walk in and there are about 2,000 kids lined up for every ride. Why, I don't know. These are rides where they push you down. Everything is filled with water. And they had this lazy river ride. And you ride on a tube and it's very nice, 2 hours. The average age of people in there was about 65, 70 years old, because if you were any younger, you'd be pushed into all these other rides with tubes. We finished for 2 hours, we went to have something to eat, and then we went to a pool. It's called the wave pool.
Oh, that's great.
And you go in, you're in the shallow part, and you sit on top of a tube, and it's nice, you're rolling. You go out to the deep part of the pool, and it's wonderful. Ah, it's so good. And then as you're sitting on top of a tube in the deep part, all of a sudden you hear the sound, pizza's ready. I don't know what the sound is. All of a sudden you see a guy turning this knob. And before you know it, I don't know if you've ever seen those wave machines for people that are psychotic and everything. You have to sit and look at these things with a lot of blue blobs in it. Lucite thing, and it keeps going like that.
Sure.
Gigantic waves are all of a sudden coming right at your face. And you're on a tube, and it's wonderful. Except if you've just had something to eat, and then all of a sudden you're going up, and you're going down. And if you're not prepared, it's nauseating. And you're riding. But after about 10 minutes, you get used to it, and it's so wonderful. And about 15 minutes later, again. The guy, thank God, shuts off this knob. No more waves. Your tuna fish sandwich can rest where it's supposed to be. And you feel wonderful. 15 minutes later, up comes the guy, he's turning the knob once again, and all of a sudden the wave machine, 500 people are going up and down and waving to each other, and people are bumping into each other and feet into your face, and it's wonderful. I recommend it. 15 minutes later, the guy turns off the knob, and it's calm. Well, I'm not too smart, but I figured out that every 15 minutes, these guys turn this machine on and off. So it's off now. I've got 15 minutes to swim over to the side of the pool. And I'm swimming. Under one arm is a tube, $35. Under the other arm is a paddle. I'm just paddling towards the side. On the side of this thing, they have these metal, for God knows why, I don't know why. It's a metal holder. Did you ever try to hold on a metal holder when it's wet? Why do they have metal? I don't know. But you're holding on to dear life. And it's only been a minute and a half. And all of a sudden, and I'm off my tube. And all of a sudden, I'm looking to my right, and there's a wave with my name on it. Adler. It's coming right at my face. It overwhelms me to the degree that in the last 33 years, I have never in my life been so overwhelmed. I'm holding on to dear life, and I can't hold on. Meanwhile, I've got myself sitting there on a tube under my arm, which I've got to let go because the heck with $35. And I'm drowning. I'm drowning. I said to myself, I can't believe I'm drowning. It's an awful feeling. And I said, I have to do something. I'm overwhelmed. Never been so overwhelmed before in my entire life. And so I look up, and I'm gurgling. Sounds like Walter Cronkite a little bit. I look up, there's a lifeguard right at the top. And I yelled out at the top of my lungs like I've never yelled before. Help! Help! He looks down and says, do you need help? Yes, I need help. What would you like me to do? How about turning off the wave machine? It's a good place to start. He turns off the wave machine. And of course you feel 500 pairs of eyes looking at the Jew who turned off the wave machine. People are talking. Hey, who's that guy? How come they turned off the wave machine? Hey! And then a few words which I cannot repeat here. And I made my way to the shallow part. And I get out and the guy finally turns the wave machine on and it's like nothing ever happened. I mentioned this story for two reasons. First of all, because you're going to be graduating seniors. And every 15 minutes the thing is turned off, and every 15 minutes it's turned back on again. And every 15 minutes it's off, and every 15 minutes it's turned back on again. And that's the way you're going to expect your life to be. Nice little patterned. Isn't it wonderful? No. It ain't going to be every 15 minutes on and off again. It'll be every 15 minutes on, and then you expect something and it won't happen. Then you don't expect it, and it happens. And you got to be prepared. Number two, the anchor, the guy sitting on top. When you shout, help, help, it's nice to have somebody listen. The greatest listener, the greatest helper you will have in this room is right across from me. No matter what it's going to be for the rest of your life, every one of you, no matter how well you know him, has gained a deep and loyal friend in Rabbi Weinbach. When you shout, he'll be there. When you scream, he'll help. When you need him, he's around. So to you, a good friend, I wish you a very good rest of your life. I thank you very much for your friendship, your loyalty, and your kindness throughout the years, and for raising up such a beautiful bunch of students that makes it such a great pleasure to return. Thank you.
Mazel tov.
Eric.
What? Speak.
Excellent.
Eric.
Excellent.
Eric Gilman. Go.
Rabbi Weinbach, we couldn't let this time go by without giving you something to remember us by. And here to present the whatever we have for you, so we please.
Respect. Excellent. Wachler, come here. You do it, because you know how to pan the room. I don't know how.
I'll do it.
Rabbi Weinbach, on behalf of the Elkanite and the seniors of 1988, I would like to present these gifts to you. If you'd please come up here to accept them.
Oh.
Holy cow! Stop! Eric, hold it. Told you not to get up. No, the camera stayed.
First gift comes, we hope, comes in very handy. Every time we go into your office, we notice that you can use one, but no one ever thought enough to get it. Here, Rabbi, is a desk organizer to arrange all of that awful clutter.
Go
even though you won't be here, we don't want you to miss that office paper shredder. Sorry, we can't give that to you. Just in case you have any important documents to destroy, we would like you to use these. Giant scissors. Sorry, but they're not electric. Rabbi, we really do know that you did more in this yeshiva than we could ever thank you for. The problem was that we never saw you out of your office. So this next gift says it all. Here, Rabbi, we assume that you were writing this book, or a similar one. Donald T. Regan, for the record. And finally, in all seriousness, we don't want you to work too hard after you leave. This next gift should save you hours of work in the future. Of course, not all at once, but it adds up. Now, hopefully, you won't have to search for a silver Kiddush cup. Please, Rabbi, use all of these gifts well. And again, on behalf of everyone in this room, and even some people who aren't in the room, thank you for everything that you've done.
Does it by itself. I know. It goes on manual.
I would just like to say a few words. First of all, thank you very much for the gifts that you gave me today. But I would like to thank a lot, and I could notice a lot, and I'm sure others will agree with me, potential and ability on the part of this senior class that we expect you throughout the years to do very well, be successful, and fare well.
Well, Wilson, we also have a gift or two for you, and to present it is the person you've probably spent the most time with this year, Jay Wolferman.
I like to spend most of my time.
First of all, can you please come up here, Rabbi?
You related? Yeah, Rabbi.
Okay. I would like to present to this dear man who we will all greatly miss a set of farm for him to make use of during his hopefully pleasant and productive retirement.
Thanks a lot.
Oscars. Now, first we'd like to introduce you to Oscar. Oscar? This is Oscar. We'll be presenting an Oscar to each winner today. And there have been 4 or 5 nominees for each category, and we'd like to get started.
Please remember, all these awards are in jest, so don't get offended if they're offensive. I'd like to call upon Lonnie Ostrow to come up and present the nominees for Best Athlete.
No, Jay, not supposed to say what it's for.
this award is being presented for the best all-around athlete here at MTA. There are no steroid users who are nominated. The nominees are Mr. Gruber, David Hollander, Ira Feintuck, and Zachary Pallas. The winner is...
Big surprise here.
This is a real shocker. Ira Feintuck!
Where is he? And I will be an acceptor. I'll accept it.
Accepting this Oscar for Ira Feintuck will be Adam Barry.
Thank you. I really, the microphone's not working. Get your tongue out, what? I really wasn't expecting this, but, thanks anyway for everything. You've all been great, and, Jay.
And thank you, Adam. There are a lot of shiurim here, and we'd like to call upon our esteemed principal to present the Oscar for the best shiur, Rabbi Weinbach.
We don't have a shot.
They spend so much money on the awards. What?
No,
they have a good trophies. Big paper trophies.
It's a tough competition, let me tell you. What?
Wow.
Huh?
The nominees for the best shiur are Rabbi Yitzchak Cohn, Rabbi Yagid, Rabbi Sachs, Rabbi Grossman, Rabbi Chait. The winner for the best shiur is Rabbi Alfred Cohn. I'm sure Rabbi Cohn and others will agree with me. If you had given me the scissors before this, I would have been able to cut a lot of the red tape.
Can we get started? What? Can we get started?
Gentlemen, can we get started? Thank you very much.
That's great.
In our sophomore year, Rabbi Block introduced clubs, and it's been a great time to really get involved in the clubs or to go home. And here to present the award for Best Club is Rabbi Block.
Nominees are Hockey Intramurals, Track Team,
What?
have one. Chess and Checkers,
Yeah!
and Debating Team. And the winner is... the Chess and Checkers Club. And I'd like to call upon Gary Paretsky to accept the award on behalf of the club. I can relax, we're going to be here a while to bring out some more bagels for us.
I shouldn't stand.
Devil! That wasn't me.
I don't play much chess and checkers myself, but I think we can all be very proud of our chess and checker team. I think we should give them all a big hand. All right. And I'd just like to take this opportunity for all you people that made fun of the Devils. Wait till next year.
They lost.
Something unusual about our class, unlike any other, seems that most of these students are in doing impressions of other people. So, we are going to call upon Roni Ganon. We'd like to ask that as the nominees are read, all those nominees who are here in this category, please come up and show us your impression.
This school has a big drug problem. Oh, sorry. All right, the nominees for best impressions are Rabbi Jade for Albert Einstein. Yvonne Gold for Church Lady.
Yes. Go.
All right, Mr. Fenner for his impression of a teacher. Josh Aaron for his impression of Alf. And Andy Ullman for Archie Andrews. The winner is Archie Andrews from the comic books.
No, but who? Come on, go. And the winner is.
All right. All right, the winner for best impression is a tie. The winners are Rabbi Chait for Albert Einstein and Josh Aaron for Alf. Oh, they're not here, so who's going to accept it for me? You. Me? I'm going to accept it for them. Okay. It was really unnecessary for you to do this, really. And I hope when we come back next year. Oh, El Guapo. Okay. All right. Do you want me to begin from there? Hello, my name is Professor Turgeson, and let's jump in with both feet right now. Let's study American history. Can anyone tell me what happened in 1975?
Well, the communists invaded Vietnam.
Is he right?
That was great.
Is that what happened? I like to believe that, but I was there. I wasn't sitting in any classroom. I was up to my knees in rice paddies. Ah! Ah!
Got the awards.
This school would really be nothing without the administration. And here's Sammy to introduce actually, here's Sammy to do the nominees for best principal.
Rabbi Weinbach. Mrs. Litwin. Rabbi Finger. And Mitchell Cohen. The winner is? The winner is Mrs. Litwin. Mrs. Litwin could not be here today. We will present her award to her later. Just as a side note, Steven Zwickler was almost the principal, but you'll notice he isn't here either. His compensation will be sent to him in Washington.
Class, besides being very involved in humor, I think we're also very involved in physical fitness. Right? And I think that this award really shows what everybody feels, and they really want to do this award. So here to present the award for Best Build is Bradley Unger.
The nominees for the Best Build are Hanan Sephardi, Mrs. Levitt, Mr. Gruber, Steven Spector, and Steven Zwickler. And the winner is, for the best build body, is Steven Spector.
I really don't want to do this.
We'll take it. For the next award, I'd like to remind everyone that this is just a joke. Our next award, presented by Ronnie Aronoff, and quite accordingly. Oh, I'm sorry, Ronnie. I'm sorry. Adam Barrett.
Nominees for the best liar and cheater are Yoni Leifer. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Steven Spector. Penny Rapp. Eric Sternberg. For the best liar and cheater is Penny Rapp. Brian Jedwab to accept the award. A few words about your friend.
That seniors have, that most of us got in our junior year is our license, and we take cars very seriously. We can, I want to talk. There's one person here who could be a parking attendant, and we'd like him to present the award for best driver. Rowan Grunfeld, please come on.
Gene.
Nominees for the best driver are Avi Baumo, Stephen Bach, Ocean Ansasser, and bus driver Shlomo Pomeroy.
Bach could be here to accept it.
The winner for the best driver is Stephen Bach. Stephen could not be here today. I would like to call upon Eli Allen.
Eric, do you want to do it or not?
The nominees are Rabbi Block, Rabbi Block, and Rabbi Block. And the winner is Rabbi Block. Thank you, gentlemen. I've been working on this award for many years now, and I truly appreciate this occasion. Thank you. Where's the beer?
Pick up the thing, you can see the answer. Oscar, hold him up, everyone can see the answer.
Now I'd like to introduce Zach Pallas to give you an award for best dressed.
Ari Pearl. Rabbi Wolfson. And Brian Jedwab. Winner for the best dressed is Rabbi Wolfson.
If he gets up anymore, he'll be tall.
Rabbi Longwood.
Very innovative. Jay.
Here to present the award for the best do. Eric Gelb.
There you go. We went there. Did you bring here, Oscar?
Okay. Nominees for the best do are Josh the Don King Aaron, Ronnie Aronoff, Elliot Press. And Eli the Elvis Allen. The winner for the best do is Brian Jenrup for his diving board do. Winner two by Brian Jenrup.
I just want to say that I really feel that Avi Baum will rightfully deserve this award. Yes, Avi. Thank you very much.
And Brian said you too.
Say what?
Chef?
This is getting out of hand.
Yes?
Yes. What a hand? Give him a hand.
What are we up to? The best editor for a TMSTA publication will be presented by Mrs. Levitt. The nomination for best do.
Bravo, Lady Levitt.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Always appreciate it. I'm just looking at this Stender, wanting to know how is this Stender able to stay in such perfect condition? And our Stenders that I share with Rabbi Schiller never seem to manage to make it through the afternoon. Oh, okay, just checking. Nominees for Best Editor of a TMSTA publication are Penny Rapp for the Mesivta, J. Heinrich for Alchanite, 88. Special announcement, Alan Gurovich for the Academy News. And Jeffrey Rockberger for Student Newsletter. And the winner for the best editor of a TMSTA publication is the editor of the 1988 Academy News, Alan
Going to make a speech, but he's been having trouble writing this year. And
Now to present the award for Best Transfer Student, we'd like to call upon Rabbi Wolfson.
every time you have to speak, just stand up.
Best transfer student are Alan Gurovich from Ramaz, Avi Baumel from Hafter, Davey Abish from OTI, Shalom Ausland from PS 156, and Ron Grunfeld from Medinat Yisrael. And the winner is the winner for Best Transfer Student is Shalom Ausland from PS 156.
We've all had a problem over the last 4 years of falling asleep in Shir, and I think the rabbis have helped. To present the award for Best Cure for Insomnia, Rabbi Suna.
Cure for insomnia are Rabbi Yaget, Rabbi Hindel, Rabbi Blach, Rabbi Wilson, and Rabbi Bornstein. Anyway, we'll see.
Pick up those things, Oscar. You can see them.
The winner for the best cure for insomnia is Rabbi Blach.
I'm absolutely overwhelmed. 2 awards in one day. Wow. Oh, boy, this is fantastic. This is what everybody works for. Guys, the announced final, it's going to be 3 hours now.
Yes.
We all know that no one in MTA would ever think of cheating on an exam.
Nah.
But we do have an award for the best invention for cheating. Not that anybody's ever used any of these, but these are the best inventions for cheating. Before I call up the person to present the award, let me just tell you a little story. Last week, I saw a student steal an exam, get the answer, cheat on the entire exam by placing the answers underneath his desk, sneaking them out, and writing them on the exam paper. Ronnie, I don't know. The person was not caught. The person got a 96 on the exam, and nothing ever happened to him. He was later suspended for wearing sneakers by Rabbi Finkelstein. To present the award for Best Invention for Cheating, Ronnie Aronoff.
Quiet. No one left. Come on, don't clap. No one left. No one never put anything for the car, ever.
Okay, okay, nominees for Best Invention for Cheating are... I'm tired, yeah. Reducing the Xerox machine, the columns in the classroom that Ari Pearl sits behind, room 404, and Miss Bullman.
Yo, really? One last. No. Use the mic. Someone. Twice. Room 405.
The winner is the winner for the best invention for cheating is room 404. Now, room 404 obviously is not going to come here and accept the award, so we're going to call upon. I'll give you multiple choice, so we'll call upon. A. Yoni Leifer. B. Benji Chesser. C. Steve Spector. D. Gilad Ottensaucer.
Jeff Fisher. Where are you going to above? Jeff Fisher.
I'm looking for a real good cheater here. And Miss E. Ari Pearl, because sorry. Okay, and the winner is Steve Spector will be called upon to receive the award. Just like to say something to Daniel Goldberg. Spector, say something, please. Please?
Just like to add that Steven Spector designed room 404.
When we're not sleeping in Shear, most of us are out. And
I love these segues.
thank you very much. Until good? Okay. Here to present the award for best excuse to leave Shear is Rabbi Reback.
All right, brace yourselves. This is not confined just to the students in my class. Nominees for best excuse to leave Shear are: number 1, move or pretend to move a car. Number 2, go to the bathroom. Number 3, talk to a member of the administration. Number 4, doing work for the yearbook. Number 5, pretending to do work for the yearbook. And now my own. Number 6, pretending to talk to parents. Number 7 and number 8 and number 9 all the way down. Whatever the reason may be.
Great improv. I'd like the,
Hey, Ronnie.
6 Knubble on
Ronnie.
The winner for the best excuse to leave Shear is doing and pretending to do yearbook work. I would like to call upon Jay Heinreich to accept happy memories.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Excuse me. Wait 1 second. This boy has to go move his car. Nah. All right. Gary,
We have our next award, the Best Attendance Record Award, will be presented by Mr. Jay Heinrich.
The nominees for best attendance record are David Spicer, Penny Rapp, Rabbi Weinbach, seniors at davening, and seniors on Fridays. The winner is David's not here.
I think we've over-exhausted this topic. Yes, we have.
Oscar will take it for him.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
To present the award, as you know, a lot of the publications and a lot of the projects that are undertaken at the school by students, the students are advised by faculty. To present the award for Best Faculty Advisor, Mr. Jeffrey Rothbarger.
Best faculty advisor are Mrs. Levitt, Rabbi Kerner, Rabbi Block, and Steven Zwickler.
All right, Steve.
And the winner for Best Faculty Advisor is Steven Zwickler. Steven's in Washington right now, so accepting the award for him is Yoshua Fogel.
Transfer.
Thank you. All those faculty members and members of the student class who have volunteered and donated their time to present the awards. And we would like to thank the entire nominating committee, Jay, Avi, and myself, for all their work. We would also like to thank our...
What?
Not in belching and benching.
Okay, but at least when I went up there, I didn't hear, what were the words? I have a dream. I have a dream.
Look at people make dumb comments.
First with laughter.
Segment is for Best Impersonation.
Of the youngsters can't be greater than that. They give him either the contract goes out and gets rid of all the drugs. You can't find a crack from here into Holland. Nothing. There's a check coming, very patiently. And finally, everyone goes away and he walks over to the mayor and says, well, they made up a contract for this deal. It's X amount of money. His money wasn't interested in all these charades and all this business. He wanted his money. They kicked him out in a nice way.
It's for Best Shear.
So we gonna pick Frankie Lane?
That's not video.
The only problem is waves. Say hi.
Hey, remember that part in Spaceballs? You remember they took out the video and they were looking and we're gonna put these pictures in for the people who want.
I'm very upset that I am not in the video yearbook at all. I'm gonna lose. We're at the show. We went to a lot of the breakfast. You can really lose it. All you have to do is make sure you see salads and chicken, no meat, just salads, chicken, and fruits. That's all you eat.
Recording?
Yeah, go.
This next scene is for Best Club.
Thank you very much, Elder.
Check.
Checkmate. Okay, guys. Oh, yeah. Okay, guys. Oh, yeah. Where's Sammy?
I don't know.
Then.
I don't know what else there is to.
All right, let's see if I can remember. Why don't we look through
Why
it?
is it still
Why don't we
recording?
look? We have the.
It rightfully belongs to him, right? It doesn't come from the word charity, it comes from caritas, which means love, but we don't say that. The Rambam disagrees. It's not that Rambam says, and I'm going to read it to you, try to follow me. I'm giving you the Kapach translation because it's more modern Hebrew. You'll be able to read it better than the Tibbin translation, which is always more difficult. Milas tzedakah nigzeres min tzedek. The word tzedakah comes from the word tzedek. I mean, what does the word tzedek mean? What does the word tzedek mean? No, not necessarily. The word tzedek, as we'll see in a moment, probably comes closer to the word emes. It's probably closer to truth, or if I had to get the right English word for it, I would say tzedek means to do what is right. It's not the same as just. To do what is right. Listen to what the Rambam says. Lo yikaru b'sifrei hanaviyim in Tanakh. You don't call zechuyos hamatolos alecha v'zolosecha nesatim tzedakah. If I do something that I have a legal obligation to do, that's not tzedakah. For instance, Im shtilamta l'sachir eschar, I pay my workers. Or, parata chavascha, I pay back my loan. Ein ze nikra tzedakah, I'm not doing tzedakah. Aval hasruyos and betoras halachas eloscha mitzad hamidas hatovos. What the Torah asks you to do because it's right. It's midos tovos. There's no legal claim, no moral claim even. But it's midos tovos. It means it adds to the development of your own character and personality. Kagon lekomem kon koshel harezu nikrei tzedakah. The Fichach says the Rambam. The Fichach Omar b'hachazoras hamashkon. When it comes to the mitzvah hashavas ha'avot, l'cha tiyeh tzedakah. This is not the Rambam. Actually, not l'cha tiyeh tzedakah. Ki balechtacha b'derech hamidos ha'na'alos. When you act in high moral principle, kvar asisa tzedek im nefesh hamaskela shulcha. Then you are doing what is right to your own higher neshama, your rational soul. You've given tzedakah to your neshama. The Rambam says, "L'cha tiyeh tzedakah." Do give to your own neshama tzedakah. By being good to the loveh, you are keeping in line, doing what is right by your own inner self. Your inner self is a nefesh hamaskeles. L'cha tiyeh tzedakah. So the Rambam, therefore, understood the mitzvah exactly as we explained it. That the eseh and the lav of hashavas avot are both in the same line of chesed of tzedakah. Both of them are expressions of chesed and tzedakah. And they address the question of tikkun hamidos, of the nosein, not the welfare of the makabel. Only the lavin of los sipos and los ames address the welfare of the oni in tzedakah, because there you're dealing with achzarius. When it comes to avot, there's no claim on the malveh, lo alai karamis, as the Gemara says, and therefore there is no kesher with achzarius, and therefore it is only a matter of tikkun hamidos or chesed, and that is why the Ramah said that there is no kfiyah. I don't want to go into too great detail, but I think that what we have here in the Rambam, who explains the term of l'cha tiyeh tzedakah in a manner that is consistent with his piskei halacha and hashavas avot and on tzedakah, that really this accords with another distinction that I once published elsewhere. That is that there's a distinction between Tzelem Elokim and Dumus. The Tzelem Mitzalma over Dumusa. What's the difference between Tzelem and Dumus? The Torah seems to use both of them, but if they mean the same thing, then why use it twice? And the Kitzur Nimrod, I'm going very, very short. Tzelem is an objective thing. Every human being has a Tzelem Elokim. It's an indelible part of the human character. Ba'asher hu Adam, because he's created the Tzelem Elokim, every person has an irreducible value. It can be the greatest Rasha in the world, but a Tzelem Elokim he has. Tzelem Elokim remains, he's done his best to erase it. But Tzelem Elokim is part of the human species, irrespective of individuals and how they act. Dumus means, and when Rabbi Yeshiva says that you also have to take what Ben Azai says with regard to Rabbi Yeshiva's v'hafla kamocha. He says Pal Gadol mizeh zeh sefer Torah za'adam b'demus elikim asa asa. What is demus? Demus is related to the word lehidamos, to be similar to. Demus is the human capacity to imitate HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lehidamos la b'midosa v'laleches v'dracha. Demus does not refer to the objective other, my friend, my other human beings, their tzelem. Demus refers to me, my capacity for growth as I imitate more of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's midos. All of Musa, all of Mrs. Ben Adam Lachavera, based on the idea that I got to do what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does. Mahu chanan afanichan, mahu charachim afanichan, avari chanan, yeah. So therefore, Dumus is my capacity to imitate, or my challenge actually, to imitate HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It has to do not with the value of the other person, but my own value, which I must always seek to enhance and to make grow greater. The tzelem is what insists that I do not be an achzar. I must not be an achzar because the other fellow has a tzelem elokim. To do chesed has nothing to do with his tzelem, it has to do with my demus. I've got to grow in chesed because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a Tovah Meitiv. I've got to be a Tovah Meitiv. He is a Baal Chesed. Although I'm Chesed Yibana, I've got to be a Baal Chesed. It has to do with me, and therefore the tikkun midas of the malveh, and that's what the Gemara says. I'll lay card on this. L'chati et tzedakah. And the Rambam says the nefesh hamaskeles. He means the demus of man. Finally, one last topic, which I think what we have said will lead to a new din. I haven't really tested this out properly, but I think it's something worth considering. And that is the question of tzedakah by goyim. The question is not whether you have to give tzedakah to goyim, that's a separate halacha, but rather, is a goy chayav to give tzedakah? Is there a mitzvah of tzedakah for a goy? If a goy gives tzedakah, does he get any credit for it? Here there's a long, long baraisa, which I will not burden you with in more detail, but a little bit to give you a flavor of it. It's an agada. But sometimes agada has very important halachic ramifications. Marba v'basu daf Yudam Day says, Tanya, Amal lehen Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai leTalmido. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says to his Talmidim, these are the Chachmei Yavne, he says to them, Bonai, Mahu she'amar HaPosek, give me pshat in HaPosek. Pasuk says, Tzedakah teromein goy, I'm going to read it in a monotone for a special reason. Tzedakah teromein goy v'chesed l'umim chatas. You must have heard of this pasuk. What does that say? Tzedakah teromein elevates, exalts goy, a people, v'chesed, and chesed, l'umim, the nations, chatas, a sin. Nana Rabbi Eliezer v'Amar, what does it mean? It says as follows: Tzedakah teromein goy. Tzedakah elevates a people. Which people? Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael. Ili Yisrael. Says Bikam Yisrael goy chabatz. The chesed l'umim. When a goy does a chesed, it's chatas. It's an avera. What does that mean? Chesed l'umim chatas. It's an avera. Kol tzedakah v'chesed she'umos ha'olam osin chetu lehen she'enan osin elo lehizgali leba. Every time the goy, and mind you, this is being said by what period of history? They were 100% right in having an anti-goy attitude. Just after the Churban Abayis, just at the time that the Romans were in all their cruelty, they crushed Eretz Yisrael. And the Romans were very arrogant people, very proud of themselves. And you know the Gemara Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, when the reason they had to go to when they had the Messiah, because he said whatever the Romans do, when they build bridges and they repair the potholes, I wish we could do it, and they do other such things, they do it for themselves. They don't do it for anyone else. There's no real chesed there. There's no generosity. It's only for their own arrogance. So he says the same thing here. He brings proof. Then Rabbi Yeshua v'Yama, also the same thing. Tzedakah teromein goy kama the chesed l'umim chatas, and the goy does a chesed as a chatas. Why? Shein osten ela kashet kimoshe malchus, and they want to continue in power, so they throw a bone to the electorate. Gamliel says in osten ela the isyarbo, to be arrogant, and so on. Another reason, everyone has the same shot in the pasuk. Everyone says another reason why the goy's chesed is a chet, until we come to one exception. The last of the Talmidim mentioned of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is Rabbi Nechonye ben Akana. And he says as follows: Nane Rabbi Nechonye ben Akana v'amar tzedakah teromein goy v'chesed v'Yisrael. Do you hear this change now? It's not tzedakah teromein goy Yisrael, but tzedakah teromein goy v'chesed Yisrael. L'umim chatas. Amalan, whatever it may mean, Amalan Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai leTalmidav, Nirin divrei Rabbi Nechonye ben Akana b'divrei midivreichem, lefi shehu nosein tzedakah v'chesed l'Yisrael, u'li'akom chatas. Tanya, Amalan Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, kashem sha'chatas mechaperes l'Yisrael, kach tzedakah mechaperes alum asar. What it means is this: all the other Tanoim, the Chaveim of Rabbi Nechonye ben Akana, Talmidim of Yochanan ben Zakkai, explain the pasuk as two halves. Tzedakah teromein goy, Am Yisrael does tzedakah, the chesed l'umim chatas. If a goy does a chesed, it's a chet. Rabbi Nechonye ben Akana, with the approval of his Rebbe, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, says that the word chesed is read mila'el, not mila'ra. Tzedakah teromein goy v'chesed, psik, kama, u'le'umim chatas. The second chiddush is that the word tzedakah goes on both halves of the pasuk. Tzedakah teromein goy v'chesed, tzedakah le'umim chatas. You hear how he's reading the pasuk? So now if I had a blackboard here, it would be easy to see. Tzedakah teromein goy v'chesed, kama, parenthesis, u'tzedakah, close parenthesis, lu'umim chalas. Now, what he means is this. Ben Achunya ben Akana learns that indeed Goyim do have a chelik in the mitzvah of tzedakah. And not only do they have a chelik in the mitzvah, and not only is it not a chet, but it's mechaper on the chet, just the opposite of Yisrael Aaron. It's mechaper on the chet. Now, Yochanan ben Zakkai accepts what he says. What you have here is that the friends of Rabbi Yechanan, the other Talmidim, negated any relationship of a guy to the mitzvah of, to the aspect of Nedivas Halev, of generosity. They said tzedakah v'chesed have no relation to a guy whatsoever, nothing at all. Rabbi Achunya ben Akana disagrees. What does he say? He says, Am Yisrael has two qualities. What are they? Tzedakah v'chesed. And Goyim have one quality. Which one? Tzedakah. And this one quality that they have affects kapara for the Goyim. Now, according to what we said, this is completely a lie. The mitzvah of tzedakah has, we said, two dinim, right? What are they? The Meniyas Achzarius, which is 11, and the Chesed, which is Pasaya Titbaches Yadecha. Okay. Now, when we speak of tzedakah v'chesed, what does that mean? Tzedakah without chesed, and chesed is the chesed of tzedakah. Tzedakah and chesed together constitute the wholeness of the mitzvah of Pasayach Tifach Yadecha. I do tzedakah, namely Meniyas Achzarius, and the chesed of tzedakah, that is tzedakah telomen goy v'chesed. That's what I'm Nachanim and Akana and now Yochanan and Zakkai are learning the pasuk. So when you have them both together, you have the mitzvah all together. And therefore, the other Talmidim of Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai held that a guy has no shaychus to the mitzvah of tzedakah whatsoever, neither Achzarius nor chesed. Rabbi Achunya ben Akana holds a Jew has both. A guy has only the meniyas. Even a guy is bidden to avoid Achzarius. Okay. If that is the case, and this is the halacha because that's what Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai paskins. He said, Evid. Therefore, the din of meniyas Achzarius and tzedakah is shayach both for a Jew and for a guy, according to Rabbi Achunya ben Akana, and it affects kapara for both of them. On this din of tzedakah, is there kfiyah or not? Sure, because if it comes from Meniyas Achzarius, that's what the whole din of kfiyah comes from. And therefore the halacha would be that with a Jew in a situation of Meniyas Achzarius, there's kfiyah on Meniyas Achzarius, and similarly for a guy there should be kfiyah, because he too is chayiv to give tzedakah in the case of Meniyas Achzarius. With regard to chesed, it's not even shayach to a guy, we don't discuss it, it's not relevant. Or with regard to a Yisrael, there is no kfiyah because it's a din of asayis chesed. It's only the asay. But with a guy, there is a din of Meniyas Achzarius and the din of tzedakah, and there is a halacha of kfiyah. Luncheon